In an extended emergency or SHTF situation, when food supplies start to run low, the idea of foraging for wild plants, berries, and nuts can seem like a great idea. I mean, after all, nature provides plenty of edible options, right? Well, another video covers how much or how little you can really expect to forage, and I'll link that one in the description. But here's the catch. Foraging can quickly turn dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. In this quiz question yesterday, I asked which option had natural anticoagulant properties and shouldn't be eaten in large amounts. Roughly 50% of you selected bitter almonds. The correct answer was sweet clover, which led me to make this video, because you have to understand what you can eat some of, eat a lot of, or even what time of year it's safe to eat some forage foods, if you plan to survive an SHTF situation anyway. Many wild edibles have toxic lookalikes or hidden risks that aren't obvious. Eating the wrong plant in a survival situation could leave you sick or dead. Lookalikes can kill. One of the biggest dangers in foraging is misidentifying a plant. Many edible plants have toxic twins that look almost identical. Here are just a few examples. Wild carrots or Queen Anne's lace versus poison hemlock. Poison hemlock has smooth stems with purple blotches, whereas Queen Anne's lace has hairy stems. This identification can be fatal. Wild onion or garlic versus death camas. Both have long green leaves, but death camas lacks the onion or garlic smell. Eating death camas can cause severe nausea, organ failure, and death. Chokeberries versus deadly nightshade berries. Chokeberries grow in tight clusters, while nightshade berries grow on smooth plants. Nightshade is extremely toxic, especially to children. Chokeberry seeds are also toxic, but the fruit is not. Wild grapes versus moonseed berries. Moonseed berries resemble grapes, but they have a single crescent-shaped seed. They're highly toxic, causing paralysis and respiratory failure. So the lesson, never eat something unless you're absolutely sure of its identity. If in doubt, leave it out. The hidden risks of edible plants. Even if a plant is technically edible, that doesn't mean it's safe in all situations. Some plants have compounds that can harm you if they're eaten in large quantities or if they're not prepared correctly. Clover, which is often foraged as a wild green or a tea. It contains coumarin compounds that thin your blood. Fermented clover in particular can cause severe bleeding. Elderberry. The raw berries, leaves, and stems contain cyanogenic glycosides, which can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and nausea. The berries are only safe after they're cooked. Acorns, as some of you are aware, these need to be soaked or boiled to remove the tannins, which can irritate your stomach and your kidneys. Bracken fern. The young shoots, or the fiddleheads, can be eaten if they're cooked, but bracken contains carcinogenic compounds that build up with regular consumption. Chokecherries. As I've already mentioned, the seeds contain amygdalin, which can turn into cyanide in your body. The flesh of the fruit is safe, but you do need to remove the seeds before you eat it. Knowing how to prepare wild foods is just as important as identifying them. Natural does not mean safe. A lot of people actually assume that if something grows in nature, it must be pretty safe to eat, believe it or not. Plants often evolve chemical defenses to stop animals, including humans, from eating them. Bitter almonds contain amygdalin, which metabolizes into cyanide. Just a handful can cause poisoning. If you've ever watched a TV mystery series, you've probably heard someone comment that a person that was poisoned with cyanide smells like almonds. Rhubarb leaves. These contain oxalic acid, which can cause kidney failure in large amounts. Even small quantities are dangerous. Starfruit. Starfruit can be toxic to people with kidney issues, causing seizures or even death due to its high oxalate content. Buckeye nuts or horse chestnuts, and no, these aren't the chocolate ones. Despite looking like chestnuts, buckeye nuts contain esculin, which is highly toxic to humans. Manchineel tree fruits. Found in the tropics, these deceptively sweet-looking fruits are nicknamed death apples and are so toxic they can blister your skin. Obviously, the word natural doesn't mean harmless. Did you know that the change of seasons matter when you're foraging for food? I wonder how many people realize that plants can change their chemical composition depending on the season. What's safe to eat in the spring might be toxic in the summer or fall. Milkweed. The young shoots and leaves are edible if they're cooked, but the mature milkweed is bitter and potentially toxic. How about pokeweed? The tender shoots are safe if they're boiled in multiple changes of water, but once the plant grows taller, it becomes toxic. The berries and roots are always dangerous. Black walnuts. While the nuts are edible, the hulls release a chemical called jucolone, which is toxic to many plants and animals. Fresh hulls can irritate the skin or cause poisoning if they're consumed. But I do have to add that black walnut hulls are an amazing herbal remedy when they're tinctured. May apples. The fruit is edible only when it is fully ripe. Unripe fruit, leaves, and roots are toxic and can cause severe gastrointestinal distress. Wild parsnip. Contact with the plant's sap in summer sunlight can cause severe burns and blisters, a reaction known as phytophotodermatitis. Obviously, timing is everything when it comes to foraging. And you also don't want to forget about the location where you find the plant growing. Where a plant grows can also affect its safety. Plants that grow near roads, factories, or polluted water sources can absorb harmful chemicals like lead, pesticides, or even motor oil. Even seemingly pristine areas can have contaminated soil. Dandelions and wild greens. While very nutritious, greens from roadside ditches may be contaminated with car exhaust residue or herbicides. And cattails, often bragged about as a survival food, cattails growing in polluted water can absorb toxins like heavy metals or industrial chemicals. Wild mushrooms. Many species absorb toxins from their environment, including arsenic or radiation, depending on where they grow. And watercress. This is a popular edible. Watercress can carry liver flukes or harmful bacteria if it's grown in contaminated water. So always consider the location before you harvest. And you need to learn how to forage before you actually need to. This is the most important tip. Don't wait for a survival situation to start learning about foraging. Invest in a good field guide or several with clear pictures and descriptions of the plants in your region. And practice identifying plants in your area during calm times so you're ready when it counts. Focus on a few easily recognizable, beginner-friendly plants like dandelions, cattails, or wild blackberries before you branch out to more advanced foraging. Join a local foraging group or take a class to learn from experts who can teach you the nuances of your local ecosystem. Knowledge really is your best tool for safe foraging. Foraging can be a life-saving skill, but it comes with risks if you're unprepared. Never assume something is safe just because it looks edible or someone on the internet said it was okay. The stakes are just too high in a survival situation to gamble with your health or your life.